Yes, this is a very important question, I believe. I have been reading a lot about the coup in different places, and I've read also a lot in the body of research that is dealing with this important matter. And in my view, I found that the coup d'etat in general are being treated in two ways. One of them, especially like emanating from prominent scholars like Feiner, they don't see coup as linked or connected to the elites. They see it as a purely military exercise. But the majority of the scholars, they believe that coup d'etat, they don't only involve soldiers or military people. They do have an important component with them, which are the elites or political elements. Why I'm saying this is important is because what we saw in Turkey in 2016, the coup attempt was not just a purely military matter. There were more layers into it, and this is important. And also, within academia, there are four components for a coup. The first one is the perpetrators. The second one is the motives. The third one is the tactics. And the fourth one is the targets. And within academia, every aspect of those was analyzed and dissected. And there is a lot of writing, a lot of research done about it. In the case of Turkey, I believe there are so many elements that are very interesting. Among them, the fact that the tactics in this case and the target was to unsettle and to destabilize and to unseat a democratically elected government. This has a lot of implications. One of them is the resemblance with terrorism. So in my view, a coup d'etat has a lot of common points with terrorism, because both, in terms of tactics, employ use of force or threat of use of force against civilians, against non-combatants, with the view to promote a political objective or to unsettle an existing government or to coerce the population. Why is this important? It is important because when we have such parallels, it will be very malignant and very inappropriate for academics or for decent political activists to support such exercises because of the large correlation between coup d'etat and terrorism. Again, this is a very important question. I believe that coup d'etat have a very negative impact on democracy. And no matter what the rhetoric and the arguments from the people who can or have at that time supported the coup d'etat against the elected government, the democratically elected government of Turkey. These elements, they exist in Europe, in North America, and elsewhere. I believe that the body of research allocated to the studies of coup d'etat show a large correlation between extremely negative impact on democracy and coup d'etat, which means, in other words, that the coup d'etat everywhere in the world, there is a study that was done by the Center of Systemic Peace. This study was published in 2008 and studied about 97 coup d'etat that happened between 1945 and 2008. The research found that in almost 94%, all these coup d'etat led to harsh dictatorships, harsh measures against human rights, a lot of gross violations for civil liberties. Why I'm saying this again? This kind of research is very important to show the emptiness of the rhetorics, the emptiness of the arguments for those who say that maybe a coup d'etat would have brought more democracy, or maybe a coup d'etat would have led to more civil liberties or media liberties, or so on and so forth. This existing body of literature shows that, for example, in the case, it shows also and reveals the duplicity and hypocrisy of some quarters in the West. Because in most of the cases, the Western forces and the Western media gave the lip service to democracy while supporting the elements that use coup d'etat. So for example, just in the last 2 decades, there was a coup d'etat in Fiji in 2006, a coup d'etat in Honduras in 2009, a coup d'etat in Egypt in 2013, a coup d'etat also in Thailand about the same time or a year earlier. In all these cases, there were a lot of crocodile tears shed about democracy, but in fact, the media didn't say anything wrong or didn't wage any questions or concerns about the fate of democracies in these countries. This is a very interesting, interesting situation and state of affairs. It is for me, it is staggering. It is astonishing to see how Western media covered a coup d'etat that was a direct attempt, a direct hit against democracy in this country. One of the ways that is used by this media was to immediately shift the focus instead of highlighting the gross attempt to democracy, the violations against the people in the streets, the people that were killed, the people that were injured, the use of tanks, the use of heavy weaponry, the use of F-16 in order to bomb innocent civilians in the street. The Western media didn't bother covering all that. They went immediately and turned the case upside down. In a Western media perspective, what I saw in my readings and in my research was that in most cases, and in the majority of the cases, Western media was more concerned about the reaction of the people in the street. Some of them were labeled jihadist, while this was like a unique case of people fighting for their rights, people trying to stop a direct attempt to unsettle a democratically elected government in Turkey, which is not only unique but should be celebrated, because the courage of the people, their political awareness, their willingness to lose and sacrifice their lives in order to save and preserve democracy should be really praised and celebrated. It doesn't happen a lot. It's happened only a few times in history. But Western media weren't concerned about that. What they were concerned about was to put allegations of human rights abuses against the people, against the soldiers who were killing people, which shows the whole masquerade, and which shows also the total bias and total ignorance and total disregard for journalistic standards. Well, I believe this is a very interesting case whereby President Erdogan and the government were very adept. They were very knowledgeable about how media works. Unlike the putschists, unlike the people who were behind the coup, I think the people behind the coup misunderstood completely the media, because they were thinking that media still operated in the 80s and they could just, come and seize some, close some media outlets like public broadcasters like TRT, and that's it. That would do the job. they forgot, or they omitted, or they misunderstood completely the media, that we are living in the 21st century. There are other stations, and unlike them, President Erdogan used Twitter and FaceTime, and that was a complete change. And also it shows that a popular president who has very good understanding of the media environment, of the media, or how media works in the 21st century, use Twitter and FaceTime to change completely the situation, to turn it upside down. And at that stage, at that moment, the people who have very high regard for their president and their government and their democracy went and responded to the appeal, and this changed completely the situation. And this was, the fatal coup to the people behind the putsch.